So Sid, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your very busy schedule to chat about Junior Achievement San Diego and the great things that you're doing. So maybe you can talk a little bit about where things stand and the mission of Junior Achievement.
Well, we appreciate you having me, Ken, and frankly, appreciate all of the work that you've done in the volunteerism for JA in the past. So as you know, but I'd love to share with your listeners, your folks, JA is a 100-plus-year-old organization, and it's more than 70 years been here in San Diego. And very broadly, we are focused on getting young people what we call real world ready. And we do that through three pillars in the K-12 space. So it's financial literacy, career and work readiness, and entrepreneurship. And all of that, those three pillars of success, as we like to think of them, are intended to get young people thinking about their future and their career and economic independence as early as kindergarten.
That's pretty amazing that it starts that early as well. I wish I had some of that learning.
We all do.
Even in high school would have been nice, but kindergarten or first grade, it's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, it's all cognitively designed. So as you progressively go up in grade, the concepts get more complex, but it's all connected to industry. So business and volunteers in corporate America are a huge part of our delivery and curriculum. We rely on more than 5,000 volunteers a year. And then the other part is experiences. We don't believe in teaching simply from a book. Everything we do is experiential. And so we talk to young people not solely about what is it like to build a business, but as you know, Ken, through our company program, the oldest of JA's programs, we actually help them build a business.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's funny, so my son, who's now a sophomore in college, right, our youngest son, he was in fifth grade when I first got involved with JA because he was part of BizTown. And I know that you'll talk about that in a minute here, but so, I volunteered to go down and help him out, and he loved it. He was really excited to be, one of the Jack in the Box employees at BizTown, probably because his grandfather was a Jack in the Box franchisee. But I went down there, I volunteered that day and just saw what was going on. And I just thought, as a business owner, as somebody in the recruiting business, how can I not get involved with this organization? And so I volunteered, and here we are, I think 9 years later now. And I've never looked back, and I've never regretted a minute of it. It's been so fascinating. So maybe you can give us a sense for some of the more unique programs like BizTown, like Finance Park, that the San Diego chapter has to offer.
Yeah, as you noted, we have a facility here in East Mission Valley off of Mission Gorge Road, and within our facility, we have, as you noted, two unique things. There's only about a dozen, a little more than a dozen of these in the country. On one side of our building, we have the only JA, it's the McGrath family JA BizTown in the state of California. And really what that is an immersive economy, completely run by fifth grade students. We have 157 jobs that young people in their classroom apply for, interview for, and prepare for over 8 to 10 weeks of curriculum in the classroom. And then they come here to the JA BizTown for a one-day, 4 to 5 hour simulation. As you noted, there is a real Jack in the Box in there. There is a US Bank. There is an NBC7. There is a Mission Fed Credit Union. We're really excited because they're all local businesses. And they're not just kind of traditional businesses. We have an SDG&E. We have a Kaiser, but we also have Illumina as one of our newest partners in BizTown. And it's really for our young people to get the concept of how does an economy work? How do I work in an economy? And really, what are these career pathways that my parents leave in the morning and they come and pick me up from school in the evening? What are they doing? And so it's really to give them a concept of career pathways as early as fifth grade. My favorite anecdote is I like to share is really that when the kids leave with more questions than they came in, then we've done our job. Because most of us don't think about the career until we get there, and we have to. And having young people prepared and aware of the jobs that are out there and the opportunities they have to access them is really how we think we're going to strengthen San Diego's economy.
That's fantastic. And maybe a little more appreciation for those fifth graders about what their parents do to actually make the money that allows them to get an iPhone or a PlayStation or whatever the latest and greatest gadget's going to be, right? It's fantastic.
Yeah, and as you know, every kid in there gets paid. They have to open a bank account. They have to spend money. They have to save money. Every business in BizTown takes out a business loan. So if you can imagine fifth graders understanding the concept of taking a loan to buy the inputs, then we price and sell and have to pay off enough money to make enough money to pay our employees and pay off our loan that we use to sell the food, right? And we're doing that at a cognitively appropriate fifth grade level. But the concepts are the same, whether you're an economist in your 50s or you're a fifth grader.
Right, exactly. And then I know it's not new anymore, but it's relatively new compared to BizTown. But you have then the next phase, which is I think sponsored by Mission Fed Credit Union, which is Finance Park, right? And that's for just high schoolers alone, is that right? And then,
no, so as you noted, the Mission Fed JA Finance Park is on the other side of our building, of our 24,000 square foot building, and that is middle and high school. And in fact, we've gone even beyond high school. And really, where BizTown is a macro economy of moving parts and businesses. Our Mission Fed JA Finance Park is really a micro economy. It's your personal financial future. And so young people go through a version of Strengths Finders to identify strengths, interests, values, to identify career pathways that align with those values. They select jobs that they think they would like to do, going through an exploration period, again, with 8 to 10 weeks of curriculum in the classroom. They learn about debits and credits. They learn about FICO scores and FICA. Why is all this money coming out of my paycheck? They learn about the different components of having to build a personal budget. And then they come into our facility. And as noted before, Ken, everything is experiential. They go and live life before they have to live it. So these are as young as middle school, as old as 20, 21, 22, come through and go through a simulation where they have to buy health insurance. They have to apply for a car loan. They have to apply for a housing loan. And based on things like debt to income ratio and randomized FICO scores, some people get things and some people don't. Everything is about wants versus needs. And we try to help young people understand what it is to want and what it is to need and the parameters, right? Their salary, basically. What are the parameters for those?
Exactly. As that generation says, it's adulting, right? Should we call it adulting town? But that's what it's all about. That's great.
You know, it's important for us, especially in finance, in the Mission Fed JA Finance Part. More than 60% of our young people would qualify as low to moderate income. And it's really important for us, especially for young people who may not come from great wealth or affluence, to be able to understand how they can make it in the world. I think of it as a runway. You know, some of us have been privileged to have the opportunity to parents who allow us to make mistakes and go to college and switch majors and take a job and not like it and quit. And unfortunately, a lot of our young people don't have a runway. They have to just do what they have to do to get by and support their families. And in many ways, this is a chance for young people to make some mistakes and try certain things and learn about life. Like you said, do some adulting before you become an adult.
That's great. I wish we all had a chance to do that in a more kind of a safe environment like that before we got into the real world of adulting, for sure. And then so obviously BizTown and then Finance Park, those are two programs, if you will, that are on premise there at JA and off of Mission Gorge, as you said. But there's a lot more curriculum that happens actually in the classroom, part of which I'm involved with as a volunteer at Canyon Crest Academy, a local high school in Carmel Valley. Whereas the company program, right, where, as you said before, it's, you know, these teams of students, right, juniors and seniors, you know, they are tasked with building an actual company, not just theoretical on paper, but actually building out the company as well. Maybe you can share a little bit more about that program.
Yeah, as you know, Ken, we serve upwards of 18,000 students in our building. And then we serve between 8,000 and 10,000 students out in the community at school sites and community centers. What you're referring to is JA was founded more than 100 years ago on the JA company program. And it's what it sounds like, from ideation to liquidation and everything in between, with volunteers like you, Ken, and others in industry to help guide these young people on identifying a product, a program, a service, building out business plan and pro formas, the financials, understanding marketing strategy, and then actually having to go raise capital and make pitches. And what's really exciting, again, is not that we talk about it in theory, but people like you, entrepreneurs who have built businesses, get to help guide these young people as they, quote unquote, build their own. One of the programs. Another thing that we do is the stock market challenge, as we call it. But again, it's 5-6 weeks of curriculum, learning about equities and investing and the stock market. And then they go through a 90-day and 90-minute simulation of an actual stock market where they get a mythical portfolio, an aspirational portfolio of $500,000 that they then need to invest. And the winning team is the greatest return on investment over those 90 minutes. And again, it's a chance for young people to understand what it is to trade. What does it mean to own a stock? I would tell you, unfortunately, I only learned that after college. And it's great to have high school kids who are learning it now.
Right. That's great. Yeah. That's one of the things that really kind of struck me about JA is that it starts at such an early age and it continues on and it kind of builds on itself year after year with all these different schools and different level students as well. That's fantastic. So you're not just learning something in a bubble one particular semester or what have you in class, but it really does build on itself, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think of this not solely as it's a nice thing to know, but if you look at historically, this is economic empowerment at its earliest. Mm-hmm. The fact is, it is knowledge, it is runway, right? It is capital that has allowed people in our country to become very wealthy. And I don't think that's a bad thing. What is important, what is missing is how do we ensure those lessons are getting to everyone? How are those getting, if we want to break cycles of poverty, teaching young people how money works and to not be afraid of it, that's critical. And I think that's really where we sit and we think of this as workforce development. We think of this as economic development as much as it's education.
Right, exactly. Well, and with so many companies now finally coming around to realize that they need to really improve their diversity hiring in terms of their organizations as well, you're going to have more employees down the road that haven't been exposed to all these things. And so the more support, the more of a foundation, if you will, that can be laid, early on in these kids, future employees, but currently kids, lives, the better off all these businesses are going to be long term, both in terms of hiring, but also management, making tough decisions as well around compensation and promotion. So I applaud you for the work that you're doing because it's sorely needed out there and it's a great result.
Well, when we think about it very basically, right, 2/3 of our GDP is consumer spending. We need people to have more money for the economy to go. And so it's really critical that at a young age, young people understand how this works and how they can better themselves. The other piece, and you noted this, Ken, is we improve, hopefully, the inclusiveness of our economy. Until recently, the stock market was crushing it. Well, how many San Diego families are actually invested? Unfortunately, it's a very small percentage, and it's very specific geographically. The more we can ensure that our folks understand how money works and economically empower our young people is better for our communities and is better for the overall economy as well.
Exactly right. Well, then you get a better balance overall as well. Companies make better decisions when you have a more both ethnically as well as age related, as well as gender, all those different components and different constituencies making decisions for the company. Then overall, the company does better. I mean, research after research shows the same thing, which is great. So a question for you: with all these different amazing programs going on, how do you balance your time? What do you see as being your role as the executive director, as the leader of this great organization in San Diego?
Well, I think Steve Jobs said it, but I feel that my job is to hire people who are smarter than me and get out of their way. And I see my role as providing both support and direction. But I joke, I don't do very much. We have a team that does the work. I firmly believe that JA is an agent for change. And as I've noted, we are not solely a field trip. We are economically empowering communities, especially those who have been historically disenfranchised. And that is an important role. And for us to accomplish that, I need to make sure that we love on our communities, but I got to love on our team. And I'm grateful that we've got a team here of 26 who are passionate about the work that we do. And so my role is really to keep us moving, but more importantly, to make sure that I continue to do the things that our team needs to stay inspired and motivated. As you can imagine, working with young people, it's not always ups. There are downs. For those of us who have kids know that.
Right, exactly.
But the reality is that the work is necessary, and we get to see enough of those ups that keeps us going. I think of it as like golf. It's often really bad, but that one great shot, you're like, that's right. This is why I play this game. And for us, this is far more important than golf. So
for sure. Yeah, exactly. That's great. I'm not a golfer for exactly that reason, because I didn't have any of those, at least the one good shot happening. Right. So tell us about, is there anything on the horizon, things that are coming up in the next, 6 to 12 months that you're working towards that might expand programs or add a new program?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Ken. Really, what we're now working on is creating the workforce development component. We've been great at education and curriculum in the K-12 space. What we're now working on is, if the pandemic hasn't already shown us the labor challenges and supply chain issues that we have and how intertwined our world is. I want to make sure that our young people are ready for their career, not just through the education, but through the experience. And so we've now expanded to high school paid internships. I won't go on my soapbox here, but I absolutely believe internships should be paid. Again, it is only those who are privileged enough to take a job and not get paid. And most of our young people don't have that opportunity. And we don't want them to miss a great career growing chance because they have to work. And so they go and work somewhere else. So we're paying high school kids to gain experiences in growth industries in San Diego. We're very excited. We've piloted that at Lincoln High School in Southeast San Diego with a cohort of 36. We'll be expanding to a cohort of 100 in Chula Vista. And because I like symmetry and we have Central and South, we'll be doing North County as well in January 2023. So very excited because, again, working in a public-private partnership with the districts, working with local chambers and corporate America, as well as our city governments to ensure that our young people don't just see their future, they actually start living it.
That's great. Well, and one of the things I love about JA is that all the programs, they really have that common thread, right? That common denominator across all of them. So that continuity is there where you know exactly what JA is all about when you get exposed to them. Any one of the programs makes it very obvious on what you focus on, which is fantastic. So I love hearing that. So those people that want to get involved, either volunteering their time or ideas or as a mentor or financially or all the above, how can people get a hold of Junior Achievement and what's the best resource there?
Yeah, www.jasandiego.org is our website. We are at JA San Diego in most social media handles. Volunteers are critical. I think oftentimes nonprofits, we talk about the need for financial support, and I don't disagree. We need that too. But corporate America and volunteers, people with a context and color for life, are as critical to what we do as the dollars. We rely heavily on our volunteer base and people like you, Ken, and the experience that our young people get, the impact that it makes is only as great as volunteers like you. And so I would say if you have some time, even if it's an hour or if it's an hour a week for several weeks, all of it is helpful. And I would tell you to reach out to our team at www.jasandiego.org.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Well, I appreciate you sharing. I can tell you that, I know this might sound kind of cliche, but I get much more from the students than they probably get from me because I get such a great and kind of so it's so invigorating, if you will, right? It's nice to see the students' ideas, their ideations, how they tackle different items or stressors or scenarios out there. So it is very, very fulfilling from my side as much as it is from there. So I can definitely attest to that.
Well, with all the uncertainty in the world, with all the geopolitical and public health and economic challenges, I would tell you, getting to see these young people every day in our building and out in the community, the future is bright. And our young people are prepared more than ever. They know they need to be prepared. They just need us as adults to provide a little bit of guidance, a little bit of direction. But they are hungry for their future and they're ready to take the bull by the horns, if you will. So the future is bright.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing the great insights about JA and getting involved. In my involvement, I will, until you kick me out, I will be involved for a long time.
That's not happening, Ken.
That's great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your time, Sid.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, take care.